Chris's joke was received as funny, as evidenced by the audience and Will Smith laughing. And this is the moment where we got to see a live-action, real-time encapsulation of how cancel culture works. Look at what happens next. Jada shoots her husband a look. Let's slow the tape down to capture this moment. Before this moment, Will is laughing because he hasn't yet found out that his original, genuine reaction is wrong and that he should conform.
Just when the sting from Will Smith's infamous Oscar slap had started to fade, Bill Maher decided to sprinkle a little Himalayan-grade salt right back into the wound. Everyone remembers that moment. Hollywood's most humiliating live broadcast turned real-life soap opera. But what some might have missed was Maher's mercilessly hilarious breakdown of Will's so-called alpha male meltdown. He didn't merely roast him, he slow-cooked him over a fire of irony, then served the dish with a generous helping of ego deflation.
I break down jokes for the humor impaired. Not that I have anyone particular in mind. Now, I know we're all sick of talking about the slap, but I'm sorry, one more thing needs to be said. Comedians have been under attack for quite some time, and I need to stick up for my tribe. This war on jokes must end. So tonight, let's Zapruder film this thing once and for all and explain jokes to idiots.
When Bill Maher speaks, people listen, and this time they felt the impact. For years, comedy itself has been caught in the crossfire of cultural shrapnel. What started with the so-called fun police targeting movies to decide what was acceptable for public viewing has now shifted towards stand-up and satire. Today's moral gatekeepers no longer draw punchlines, they draw battle lines. It's as if some have made it their mission to scrub every trace of humor from society, one joke at a time. But Maher refuses to let hashtags and outrage mobs turn laughter into a forbidden act. Tired of the endless lists of what's not okay to joke about, he grabbed his mic, sharpened his wit, and lit the torch, ready to scorch the culture of censorship with a few blazing truths of his own.
Now, at the Oscars, Chris Rock came out to present a boring award and first did what he is supposed to do, get some laughs doing what we comics call crowd work. Denzel and Javier Bardem each got spritzed. And then Chris made what in the business is known as a some is like some other joke. He said to Jada Smith, Jada can't wait for G.I. Jane 2, recalling the late 90s movie starring Demi Moore. That's it. That's the joke. You remind me of some other beautiful, buzz-cutted movie star. It wasn't an alopecia joke any more than the one about the chicken crossing the road is about bird flu.
Maher's take on why did the chicken cross the road wasn't about chickens. It was a sharp jab at today's culture of overreaction. The bald joke wasn't the problem. Outrage was. Ironically, Maher later admitted he hadn't even realized Chris Rock's joke about Jada's shaved head referenced G.I. Jane. Once you see it, it's obvious. But the point remains. A joke is just a joke. It's not a manifesto or a moral test. Comedy's job is to bruise the ego just enough to make us laugh at ourselves. That's how it survives.
Not an insult, although insult humor is also a staple of comedy. And in fact, an example of insulting someone's looks was on display that night when Regina Hall said, "We've been dealing with COVID for 2 years. It's been really hard on people." And Amy Schumer said, "Yeah, just look at Timothée Chalamet," and they cut to J.K. Simmons, who made a face a lot like the one Jada would make later on. But that's where it ended. It's called being a good sport, especially when you're a rich celebrity. Let the common people take the piss out of you for one stinking minute.
Award shows have become comedy safaris, stars dressed to impress, walking right into the line of fire. Watching Hollywood's elite get roasted has become tradition. I'll admit, I'm not a huge fan of public humiliation, but if you sit in the front row, you're fair game. That's the price of the spotlight.
And this is the moment where we got to see a live-action, real-time encapsulation of how cancel culture works. Look at what happens next. Jada shoots her husband a look. Let's slow the tape down to capture this moment. Back and to the left. Back and to the left. Before this moment, Will is laughing because he hasn't yet found out that his original, genuine reaction is wrong and that he should conform.
Then came the Oscar moment. Will Smith laughed until Jada's glare hit. In a split second, his face changed and chaos followed. The real story wasn't the slap, but the hesitation before it, the split-second collapse of conviction. It exposed a truth about Hollywood. Many wear their wokeness like armor made of glass. Behind the hashtags and virtue signaling lies fear. Fear of saying the wrong thing, of cracking the image. In that moment, one joke became a mirror, reflecting an industry ruled by insecurity, not integrity.
His original, genuine reaction is wrong, and that he should conform to a different view. And he's the one who's being manly? I've seen the same syndrome happen in comedy clubs. Woke hecklers who literally have to wait for the laughter to die down before they yell, "That's not funny!"
Will Smith may have thought he was being noble, defending his wife like a knight in a tuxedo. But that Oscar slap wasn't courage. It was surrender. Real strength isn't in a slap. It's in self-control. Smith laughed at first, then froze, then lashed out not from love, but from pressure. What looked like bravery was really insecurity on display.
This war on jokes must end. Will Smith didn't get kicked out of the Oscars for going Ike Turner on Chris, but Kevin Hart got kicked out of hosting it for a joke. Who are these people who say cancel culture isn't a real thing? Just among comedians who've gotten fired and lost gigs for exercising their freedom of expression, the toll is high. Gilbert Gottfried and Kathy Griffin were tasteless. So what? That's why we like them.
Even if a joke offends, it doesn't need to be erased. Comedy's meant to push boundaries and make us uncomfortable. The solution to offensive humor is simple. Don't watch it. Skip the show, change the channel, move on. Outrage shouldn't silence everyone else. Comedians deserve room to fail and to take risks. If something truly crosses the line, laws exist, not mobs. Choosing to look away isn't apathy, it's freedom. The right to ignore without demanding silence.
Comedians are the ones testing where the line is. We can't always be perfect any more than Tom Brady will never throw an interception. Dave Chappelle lost distribution for his documentary, and Sarah Silverman was fired from a film over an old sketch where she wore blackface to make fun of racism. Roseanne lost the TV show she created with her name on it over tweets that were very offensive, but not at all clear Roseanne knew them to be. She is crazy, and I say that as a friend.
In Sarah Silverman's story, the punchline suddenly became a gut check. Her infamous blackface sketch was never meant to demean. It was meant to expose how ugly and omnipresent racism really is. It wasn't hate disguised as humor. It was satire, comedy's oldest and sharpest scalpel, slicing into the infection itself. But as always, the first casualty was nuance. The outrage brigade took one glance, ignored the intent, and slammed the buzzer like a game show contestant desperate for attention. Context didn't stand a chance. They burned her for the medium instead of engaging with her message, the cruelest irony of all. The very cultural gatekeepers who claimed to fight racism canceled Silverman for confronting it head-on. Her story is a cautionary tale for our era. Even when you swing in the same direction as the crowd, one misplaced note can turn the applause into a mob.
Will Smith wasn't pulled off stage, but comedian Nimesh Patel was literally pulled off stage during a performance at Columbia for a joke about how hard it is to be gay and black. Not an anti-gay joke, mind you, a pro-gay joke. But one of the event organizers walked on stage and said, "I don't think you're entitled to certain jokes you're making." Well, a sense of entitlement certainly is a big part of the problem here, but not on the part of the comedian.
Here's where the irony hits peak absurdity. Comedian Nimesh Patel was pulled off stage mid-performance, not for mocking the woke crowd, but for agreeing with them. He was canceled for being on their side. The outrage machine had become so aware it started eating its own. Now, you're a villain if you joke about them, and still a problem if you joke with them. Patel's story says it all. It's no longer about what you say, but who gets to say it. And when comedy turns from a mirror into a minefield, we all lose the ability to laugh at the truth.
The people who can't take a joke now aren't old ladies in the Bible Belt. They're Gen Z at elite colleges. Colleges where comedy goes to die. Kids used to go to college and lose their virginity. Now they go to lose their sense of humor.
It's astonishing how far our institutions have drifted from their original mission. They were once arenas for intellectual gladiators, places where students emerged from debate with a few scars, maybe, but a sharper mind. Higher education was meant to challenge ideas, not shield students from them. Yet today, many campuses feel like ideological terrariums, sealed off, overrun with self-righteousness, and hostile to fresh air. Dissent isn't debated, it's deleted. That's not strength, but fragility in a cap and gown. We're raising a generation fluent in outrage, but clueless about nuance. Unchallenged ideas aren't truth, they're just untested, and when questioning stops, thinking dies with it.
Vice recently interviewed college bookers who revealed that before a comedian even takes the stage, they're asked to edit out anything from their act that may cause offense, leaving a world where more and more topics are off limits, and soon there'll be nothing left to joke about except airline food and Starbucks getting your name wrong.
No matter what you think of Trump, his call to fire ideological professors hit a nerve. Universities weren't meant to be pulpits. They were meant to teach people how to think, not what to think. Too many classrooms have become echo chambers for moral sermons instead of places for real debate. Calling that out isn't censorship, it's intellectual hygiene. From Will Smith's slap to comedians being canceled and campuses silencing dissent, it's all the same disease. Fear replacing discourse. Compliance replacing courage. Free speech dies when comfort matters more than truth. Real progress comes from ideas that sting before they enlighten. So keep questioning. Stay curious, because today, the most rebellious act is the freedom to think.